Hey everyone, Cody here with 5 to 9 Sweet. Today I'm super excited to be talking about Cloud, or more specifically Claude Code. If you're familiar with something like ChatGPT, that comes from a company called OpenAI. Claude Code comes from a different company called Anthropic. They're both, probably some of the biggest, if not the biggest players in the space of AI right now, with respect to agentic and generative AI. Of course, there's a lot of other solutions out there. You have Amazon Cairo. You have, Google Gemini, you have Grok, you have, of course, Codex from OpenAI. Lots of different other options out there. And at the end of the day, it's really whatever fits your needs best, whatever is most attractive to you. They're all going to do very similar things. Any of the content that I make, you can follow along with really any of the solutions. But with that being said, my personal preference is Claude Code. I just enjoy the user experience the most. I do feel like I've had the most success with code generation with Claude Code. Granted, I've really only used that in Codex, so I don't have a lot of experience with some of the other ones. I guess I have used Amazon Cairo as well. I use that at work, and I do feel like that is a very powerful solution too. However, Claude Code is my favorite, so that's what we will be focusing on today. So in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about signing up for Claude Code. You will have to get a subscription. We'll go through some of the different pricing models for that. We'll talk about installing it, setting it up, and then I'll just give a very brief overview of actually how you can use it. So with that being said, let's jump right into it and open up a browser. And what we're going to do is go to anthropic.com, which is the home page here. If you go and hover over this down arrow here, you'll see some of the different cloud products. Today, again, we're going to be focusing on Claude Code, which is what we use to build software. So this will take us to the Claude Code homepage. You can see here right at the top, we have the install script, which we'll get to here in a second. If I scroll down a little bit about halfway on the page, you'll see some of the different options of where you can actually use Claude Code. They do have a desktop application. I actually haven't used this. It looks like it's relatively new. It's in beta. Today we will be focusing on the terminal and usage of it in the VS Code IDE. They do also have support for mobile iOS and Slack integration too, which is a chat application. If I scroll down a little bit more on the page, you'll see some of the different pricing models that I was talking about. Claude Code does require that you have a subscription. You cannot use it with the free version. You can only use the Cloud Chat with the free version, which is really akin to ChatGPT from OpenAI. The subscription that you need for Claude Code is the Pro subscription. That is the minimal subscription that they offer. If you pay it annually up front, it comes out to $17 a month. If you just want to bill it monthly, maybe you're just trying it out for the first time and you're not really sure if it's something you actually want to invest in, then you can start out with just $20 a month. And then, of course, this goes up to $100 a month or even $200 a month. Really, the only difference between these is your usage limits. You can read a little bit more about that on their website here down at the bottom. They have a link to read more about how they track usage. Pretty much everything I'll be doing most likely will fall into the Pro subscription with respect to usage limits. If you're really just planning to follow along with my content, then you are good to go with that. All of the other agentic AI solutions out there have very similar pricing as of the making of this video. Of course, this is all subject to change over time. We're still pretty early in AI, and I will actually be very curious to see how the pricing models change over time. All right, with that being said, if you don't already have a cloud account, once you're looking at the subscription models down here, you can go ahead and click Try Cloud. This is going to take you to a sign-in page. If you already have an account, you can just sign in right here. If you do not have an account, then what you need to do is enter your email. That will send a link to your email account, which will then send you a text to your phone to verify yourself. And then it will allow you to proceed with the sign-up process and paying for the subscription. So I'm not going to go through each of those steps in here. It's pretty self-explanatory. With that being said, we can go back to the home page and take a look at how we actually install it. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top here, and you'll see again, there's a couple of different methods for getting Claude Code. Today we're going to focus on the command line or the terminal install, which also gets us the VS Code extension install. So you'll see right here on Windows, they have a handy link to run an install script with this .ps1 extension, which is PowerShell. If you're on Windows 10 or 11, you have that by default. So we can go ahead and copy that. Now there's a couple of different ways you could run this in a terminal. One is if you press your Windows key plus the S button, that'll bring up search, and you can search for PowerShell. You'll see right here at the top, this will bring up a PowerShell window. You can paste it in here and execute it. But you don't have to pull up the standalone PowerShell. VS Code actually has PowerShell integrated into it. So what I'm going to do is do this all through VS Code. So I'm going to open up my file browser here. And if you remember from the VS Code video, what you can do is right click in the file explorer here and use this open with code option, which is going to open up this particular directory in the VS Code IDE. If you don't have VS Code and you have no idea what an IDE is, by the way, go back to my previous videos in the setup area on 529sui.com. I have one video that explains what the heck an IDE is, and then I have a follow-on video that actually talks about installing the VS Code IDE, which is what we're looking at here. So once you have VS Code opened up, there is a terminal down here at the bottom, and this is indeed PowerShell. You can see over here on the left-hand side, there's a PS that indicates PowerShell. Even over here on the kind of right-hand side on the upper portion of the terminal, it indicates that we're using PowerShell. You can click on this little down arrow here and see some of the other different terminal options that might be available on your system. But again, we do want PowerShell, so we're in good shape here. If you do not see this terminal window when you open up VS Code, you're like, what the heck's going on? Up here in the upper left-hand side of VS Code, there is a terminal option. You can click terminal and new terminal, and that will bring this window up for you. All right, with that being said, we've copied the command from Anthropic's website. We're going to paste it in the PowerShell terminal. So what this is going to do is pull the install script from Claude.ai, and then it's going to execute it. So we'll just press enter, and that's going to go off and kick off that install process. Okay, so the install process started, and then you can actually see it ran into an error. It says Claude Code on Windows requires git bash. So to install Claude Code command line interface, it does have a dependency on this git bash tool. What's nice is in the error message, it actually gives a link of where to download that from. So if you press your control button on your keyboard and then click that link, it will ask you if it can open up an external website. We're going to go ahead and click open, and that will bring you directly to the install page for Git. Git is a very widely used version control system across the software industry. I actually will have a future video on version control, so don't worry too much about the details of what that is now. For now, we're just going to download it to get through the Claude Code install process. So of course, I'm on Windows, so I can just use the default click here to download link, but if you're on Mac OS or Linux, of course, you can go look at those options too. So I'm going to click here to download, which will pull in the actual executable for the Git installer. And now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And we'll click yes. And we have the license here. We'll click yes through that, click next. And you have a couple of different options here. You're probably going to be okay with the default settings. One thing I might recommend checking here is check daily for Git for Windows updates if you want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Git. So I'm going to go ahead and check that. And then the only other option that I might recommend here is choosing the default editor. So VS Code is an editor, and I would recommend choosing that if you have installed the VS Code IDE, but of course feel free to choose whatever editor that you want. There is actually probably nothing you'll really need to do through the VS Code editor with Git at this point in time, but it's just kind of nice to have it set up for that if at some point in the future you need to use an editor for Git. All right, so I'll click next, and then really for the rest of these, we can actually just go through all of the default settings. If you want to read more about these on your own time, of course, go ahead and do that and figure out what the best options are for you. But for now, we're just going to go through the default settings here and click the install button. All right, so now that Git's installed, we do not need to view the release notes. We don't need to launch it. We're just going to go ahead and click finish. And we're going to go back to VS Code, and we're going to rerun the install. So within the terminal, if you just press the up arrow on your keyboard, that will actually bring up your previous commands. So You can just press the up arrow and then enter, or of course you could copy and paste the command again. But we're going to go ahead and reinstall now that we have the git bash dependency done. All right, so you can see it successfully installed Claude Code. That's a good sign. It does have a note here at the bottom, setup notes. Native installation exists, but this particular file path is not in your path. What the heck does that mean? Well, this uppercase path thing here is called your path variable. When you try to run an executable on your computer, your operating system is going to go figure out where that executable is at so that it can run it. Well, the way that it does that is it goes and searches your path variable, which describes locations for executables on your machine. So what this is saying is, hey, you have this cloud executable now, and we could type cloud, and I don't know where that's at. So the term cloud is not recognized as the name of a script, function, or some other operable program. So we need to take this path that the cloud executable was downloaded in, and we need to add it to our path. So I just went ahead and copied this file path here. And on Windows, you can press that Windows S key again. You can search for environment, and you'll see up here at the top, there's an option to edit the system environment variables. So we're going to click on that. Then we're going to click environment variables. And up in this upper section here, we have user variables for our user profile on this computer. And you'll see one of those variables is path. So we can go ahead and double click it, and you'll see there's some existing paths here. And what we're going to do is just double click in a empty cell, and we're going to paste that path in, press OK. We'll press OK again, and we can close out of that. Now, when VS Code starts up, it loads the path variable. So since we just went and modified it and we haven't restarted VS Code, this is actually still going to fail. You can see it still doesn't recognize it. So what we need to do is just close VS Code, and then we will reopen it. And we can try it again to make sure that cloud was successfully installed on our computer. All right, so again, we're back in the terminal. I'm going to run cloud, and hopefully, assuming we did everything correctly, we will see cloud come up. And it looks like we did. It has some fun little art here. And the first thing that it's asking us to do is to select our theme. This is super important because you really want to know, or you really want to, configure the right environment for you and have that nice, fun aesthetic that you want. I'm a fan of dark mode, which is the default, but there is a light mode. There's some colorblind friendly options, which is super cool, and some ANSI colors only. I, again, am going to just stick with the dark mode. And then we need to actually log in. Like I said, you do have to have a subscription. So hopefully by now you've purchased one of the subscriptions that makes sense for you. And we can actually just select this first login method here to log in with our cloud account that has a subscription. I'll press enter. That's going to open up a browser, and it should ask you to log in to authenticate. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my account. And you can see it's trying to connect, so I'm going to authorize it to connect. Oh, and for some reason it failed. I'm not sure why that just happened. Let's see. If I go back to VS Code, browser didn't open, use the URL below to sign in. Let's see here. I'm going to try and just refresh this and see if that does anything. Let's see if I authorize. Okay, for some reason that's failing. So this is great. Some live troubleshooting. We'll go ahead and just close the browser here and maybe retry this. So I'm going to go back to VS Code. It does say right here, if the browser didn't open, use the URL below to sign in. So I'm going to just try and use this URL that it gave me here. I'll copy this. I'll go back to my browser, new tab, and I'll paste that in the browser. And we'll try and click authorize again. And it looks like it's giving us an authentication code, and it's telling us to paste this into Claude Code. So I'm going to copy the code. I'll go back to VS Code, and it says right here, paste the code here if prompted. So I will paste it, press enter, and there we go. We have a successful login. So hopefully for you, that goes a little bit more smoothly, but you can see if it fails for whatever reason, those are the steps that you should take to get through with that. So we'll press enter to continue. Just a couple security notes. I think the first one is very important. Just know Cloud can make mistakes. Don't trust everything it's giving you. Trust but verify, right? So just keep that in mind as you're using Cloud. Not only can Cloud give you misinformation, but it can also give you code that is not good or not correct. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through things and some kind of guardrails that you can put in place to give yourself more confidence in what Cloud is giving you. So for now, we're going to press enter. We'll just go ahead and use the recommended settings for the terminal setup. And it's asking if we trust the folder that we are running the command line interface in. We do, because I created it. And just like that, it looks like we're ready to go. So by default, Cloud is going to open up in what's called plan mode. What that means is it's not going to just go off and execute things. If you tell it to go like create a file, it's going to give you some information about like what it's going to create, and make sure that you're okay with that. But then there's also kind of a Wild West mode, as I like to call it, where it'll just go ahead and do exactly what you ask it to do, and even make some of its own decisions. So you have to tread a little bit carefully there, and make sure you're comfortable with it. I recommend by default just stick with plan mode if you're not quite comfortable with AI just going off and doing things on your computer. But we can talk a little bit more about that later as well. So let's just kind of play around with this a little bit. Now that we have Claude Code in the terminal, let's see what it can do. You can see right here at the bottom it says press or enter the question mark for shortcuts. So right off the bat here, we can kind of see some of the different keyboard shortcuts that we can use to do things. So let's see. One of the ones on here is meta plus P to switch the model. So maybe that's something we're curious about. What's the default underlying Anthropic model that's being used? So meta, you can also use the Alt on your keyboard, the Alt button plus P to switch model. So you can see here now we're in a mode where we can select the model. It looks like the default model, which is the recommended model, is Sonnet 4.6. That's kind of their mid-tier model. Opus 4.6 is the strongest, and Haiku 4.5 is the quote-unquote weakest, even though it's still incredibly powerful. These will kind of eat up your usage limits a little bit more. So Opus is, again, kind of best for like the most complex work that you could do. It's going to eat up your tokens. So every piece of text that you send to Cloud and every piece of text that it sends back to you, those are tokens. Every character in there is a token, more or less. And so, you just want to be kind of cautious of your usage limits. So we can see here we have a couple of different models we can choose, and we will just stick with the default for now, but it's just good to know what your options are there. We can look at some of the other shortcuts. I mentioned plan mode versus basically what I like to call the Wild West. That is associated to this option here, so Shift plus Tab. If I press that, you'll see now we are in this mode of accept edits on, which means it's basically just going to go ahead and make edits for you. It's not going to ask for your permission necessarily. And then if we press it again, you can see we're back in plan mode. So let's see a little bit about, like what that looks like. So I'm going to say, hey, Cloud, can you generate a text file that provides a high-level description of Claude Code? And what this should do is think on this a little bit, and it's going to give you basically the plan of what it's about to do. And then it will ask you for permission on whether or not it can go off and execute that. And again, that's because we are in plan mode. So you can see here what it came back with was a plan. And then it says, here's my plan. I'm going to generate a Claude Code description text file. Here's the content of the file. This is the file that I'm going to create, where I'm going to create it at. By default, it's going to create everything in the working directory that you're in. And then, it even tells you like how to verify that it did something successfully. So it says open the file and confirm it reads clearly and covers the major aspects of Claude Code at a high level. And then, of course, it's asking, here's my plan. I'm ready to execute. Would you like me to proceed? So you can say yes, auto accept edits, which basically just means yes, and don't even ask me permission again. Let's just go ahead and start doing stuff. You can say yes and then manually approve any edits, or I can type here to tell Cloud what to change. So I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit crazy here, and I'm just going to say yes and then auto accept edits, which will switch us into that mode. It always has these fun little verbs here, flummoxing, so it's working away to generate that file. And shortly here, we should see a file get created, and we can go ahead and take a look at that file and see what it gave us. So you can see here, it it started to write to the file. It wrote 60 lines to cloudoverview.txt. Here's kind of a sneak peek of what it wrote in that file. It created the file in the working directory. It covers, what Claude Code is, some of the key capabilities, how it works, the target audience, getting started instructions, all sorts of good stuff. So we can go ahead and see the file now over here in VS Code's File Explorer, and we can see, basically all of the details of what it just told us it was going to do, which is great. And again, you can also see now we are in this mode of auto accept edits on. So let's test that out and see kind of what the difference is. How about we say update this file and add some notes about the differences between Claude Code and OpenAI's codex. Let's see what this does. And because we are in this mode of accept edits on, it shouldn't really ask us, hey, I'm going to go do this. Are you okay with it? It should just go off and do it and give us some information about what it did. So we can see it's bebopping away right now. And you can see here, it's already starting to make some updates. These are the lines that it's going to add. You can see here, this is kind of called a diff. So you can see here's all of the lines that it added to that file. You can see here it's adding some information about OpenAI. It created a nice little table for us with the key differences. And it, again, kind of summarized what it did for us here. But notice how it didn't actually ask us, hey, these are the updates I'm going to make. Are you okay with it? Would you like me to proceed? It went ahead and did it. And again, that's because we're now in the accept edits on mode. So pretty cool. You can see here down at the bottom, there's where that content actually is. And you can see that table that it talked about. So pretty cool. All right. So with that being said, there's kind of another way that you can use Claude Code through the VS Code environment with the install that we got. Let's go ahead and exit out of the command line interface here. So I'm going to press exit. You can see over here on the left-hand side, we have this little thing that kind of looks like a paint splat. And if I hover over it, you can see it says Claude Code. This is the actual Claude Code extension. So this provides more of like a chat interface. That's maybe a little bit more user-friendly for some people, but again, at the end of the day, it's really kind of your preference. You can see here, it already has the context of our existing conversation that we just had over the command line interface. You can see here, this is probably a little bit more of a readable interface for you. Here's that diff where it added the information about like OpenAI versus OpenAI's codex versus Anthropic's Claude Code and whatnot. And then you can see now we just have a nice chat interface here where there's some buttons where you can like upload files from your computer. It has slash commands here for like switching the model, for example. A couple other things, you can look at your account and your usage information if you're interested in that. And then you can also switch between some of those different modes that we talked about here. And you can even configure like how much effort it puts into thinking about things. So if you're doing something that's like really complex and you really want it to take some time to think about how it's going to go about it and execute on it, you can crank this up to effort high. Again, this kind of creeps into tokens and usage limits. So the more effort that it's putting in, the more powerful model that you're using, well, the more tokens and usage limits that are going to get eaten up. So it's pretty good at, what am I trying to say? There's a lot of configuration options here is what I'm trying to say. So keep that in mind. And again, we could just use this chat interface and I can say, generate a new file. I'll say a new text file that says hello 529 sweet viewers. So I'm going to do that. It's now elucidating, and you can see it wrote a new file with hello 529 sweet viewers. I can go ahead and even click on this hyperlink here, and it will take me to that file. Oh, well, actually, it hasn't generated it yet because, again, we are in, I believe we're in plan mode. Yeah, ask before edits, so it hadn't quite created it yet. Now we can click on it, hello.txt, and see hello 529 sweet viewers. All right. So with that being said, that's really it. You're set up with Claude Code now. We are one step closer to starting to build some really exciting projects. I hope you were able to follow along. If you have any questions, feel free to comment in the comment section or reach out to me over the contact forms on 5to9sui.com, and I will be happy to help you out. And yeah, with that being said, happy building, and thanks for watching.